Before we begin today's foibles, I just want to give a quick shout out to the patrons in the $10 and above tier. We have Wilma, Hypes, Glad Goku, Dare Denny, Kale Bennett, Ken K, Hyper Mega SP, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotin. Oh no, I've used up all of the helium. What am I meant to do now? Thank you. Hey, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, the mascot for the level-headed fanboy. And we just got a brand new trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. And this is the most excited I have been about an upcoming MCU movie in quite some time, because I think this is where we're going to be seeing some real changes. This feels like it could be the center of Marvel's multiverse saga, in which we have our first MCU film, which is entirely about two non-MCU characters. We're finally seeing the fruits of the Disney-Fox merger in a meaningful way, which represents a real expansion for the Marvel Universe that I think fans like myself have been actually really looking forward to seeing. It's like when Spider-Man first rocked up in Captain America Civil War. It's that kind of excitement again, of like getting to see characters that were very unlikely for the MCU finally make their way over. And again, I must emphasize in a meaningful way, because yes, we did get that with Professor Charles Xavier and Reed Richards in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but to call that meaningful would be quite an overstatement. Anyways, I don't have a huge deal to say about the trailer itself, so I decided to just keep it to 10 observations, and I'll elaborate on that and just discuss those individual 10 points. Okay? Okay. I'd love it if you'd subscribe as well. Also, as a human being, I do like money, so if you want to lend a hand with any of that, links are in the description below. You know what you're doing. Not going to waste any more of your time explaining how to do that. Alright, starting off at number 1. Adjacent universes. So I've had a theory for quite a while that when we are seeing legacy universes be brought into the MCU, such as the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe or the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universe, that these aren't necessarily the original versions of those universes so much as adjacent ones. And this did come from a point of kind of copium, I guess, because the events of Spider-Man No Way Home would obviously negate the events of the Sam Raimi film trilogy. If, say, Norman Osborn survived, the events of Spider-Man 3 couldn't possibly play out. Now, Marvel has kind of already toyed with kind of divergent timelines in, say, Avengers Endgame. So that Raimi trilogy, as I knew it, could still be intact, but I still believe that that was an adjacent universe in the first place, because there's a lot that just didn't make sense in Spider-Man No Way Home. For example, Electro knowing Peter Parker's identity when he'd never found out in the previous film. His entirely different characterization. Doc Ock being aware that Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin. Again, these things don't really add up. Then move over to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We've got a universe where Patrick Stewart is Professor Charles Xavier, yet he's running around... probably a bad choice of words there, but he's moving about in the version of Professor Charles Xavier's wheelchair that we see in the X-Men animated series. And there's no saying that that is the same Patrick Stewart version of Professor X. Same goes for how we've seen that there are multiple Lokis that are all played by Tom Hiddleston. Multiple Doctor Stranges, and they're all Benedict Cumberbatch. And this Wolverine here seems to have his very own backstory. He's a depressed Wolverine that is at least partially responsible for the death of his universe. He's a disgrace as far as this universe is concerned, as shown by the bartender that really doesn't like him. And this film will kind of serve as a redemption story for this version of Wolverine. Given that this seems to be a different version of Wolverine, does that mean that Hugh Jackman's return as Wolverine for this movie still kinda undercuts the Logan movie, which was originally meant to serve as the conclusion, the swan song for this version of the character? If you ask me, I would say yes, it does still undercut Logan as the swan song for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And I can understand why fans of that movie, or just anyone, would be kind of pissed about that. Because that film was not just kind of the swan song for that specific version of Wolverine, it was also to be Hugh Jackman's final performance in that role, and it was a great way to end his tenure. And now that we have him returning for the MCU, we kind of negate that. It's not something I'm necessarily mad about. I still think Logan stands on its own 2 feet, and this movie looks like a lot of fun. Very excited for it. At the same time, though, I can understand why people are mad about it. That's very valid, and yeah, I won't deny it. It does undercut it. However, my apathy for the MCU has come to the point where I just understand that them reaching into the cookie jar over and over again is par the course now. Nothing is sacred. So while I'm not mad about it, I still acknowledge it's not a good thing. So whether or not this is a different version of Wolverine still played by Hugh Jackman, it does still devalue that finale a little bit, in my opinion. Number 2, they weren't kidding when they said this was R-rated. With this film being produced by Disney, I wasn't sure if they were going to kind of clip the teeth off of the Deadpool franchise. Maybe they were saying, it'd still be R-rated, but you didn't know if they were going to maybe turn things down a little bit. Maybe this is a lighter R rating than the previous R ratings of the Deadpool movies, but no, they weren't kidding. So I might be wrong about this. Just last time I watched it, I think I counted 6 uses of the fuck word in this trailer. And again, I might be wrong about this too. But as far as I understand, MCU films are typically allowed 1 use of the fuck word. This trailer has more uses of that word than the rest of the MCU entirely. And that's because they were kind of touting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as the MCU's first use of the fuck word, and I'm guessing that's excluding the Netflix shows because I haven't seen them yet. And given that I am just an immature little boy, that excites me. Then there's the violence as well. This trailer is really, really violent. Well, by MCU standards anyway. When Wolverine stabs Deadpool in the balls with his claws, as a man, I felt that. Poor form, Wolverine. Yeah, you need this redemption story there, buddy. They could kick Thanos in the balls and it would still be poor form. You don't go for the nuts, man. And then you got that moment of Deadpool shooting Wolverine in the ribs repeatedly. That fight scene between the two is going to be so fun because these are both invincible beings. One of them a no-nonsense gruff type, the other an absolute sass-talking guy that never shuts up. So if that fight isn't one of the most fun things we've seen in the MCU, what are they doing? But they're getting really inventive with the different ways these guys are harming each other in this trailer. So I'm hoping we haven't seen all of that. I'm hoping that, we'll see loads more inventive ways these guys try to kill each other. Number 3, acknowledgement of 20th Century Fox, because we have a collapsed 20th Century Fox logo in the background of the Deadpool v Wolverine fight. Now, I did initially question if what we were seeing was kind of the remains of the universe that Wolverine failed to save. And if we were acknowledging that as that universe, we would be acknowledging this Wolverine as the Fox Universe Wolverine, negating point number 1 on my list. But I have thought of something else. Maybe this is the fall of Deadpool's universe. And it's always been kind of unclear what kind of world Deadpool takes place in when compared to the X-Men universe. As obviously, the main Fox X-Men universe had a Deadpool, and they sewed his mouth shut. So I think what we're facing here is the end of Deadpool's universe, which is being represented as the Fox universe, and I'd imagine we're going to get like a Planet of the Apes style moment where he sees the 20th Century Fox logo and is like, damn you all to hell! We know that the TVA are what bring Deadpool to the Marvel universe in this film, and that their whole kind of thing is preserving that sacred timeline, so I'd imagine that they're the main threat here, and they are seeking to prune Deadpool's universe. I think that's what we're up against here, and that logo is an acknowledgement that this was the Fox universe. Number 4, in the background of this low-angle walk-in shot here, you can see a store called Liefeld's Just Feet. Now that right there is a fun bit of comic book trivia. Genuinely got a little laugh out of me. So I know that most of you already know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. For those of you who don't know, Rob Liefeld is the original creator of Deadpool. Now, I say that with quite a big asterisk next to it, because the version of Deadpool that he created isn't really the Deadpool that we know and love. Liefeld's Deadpool was a villain, and he was a lot less sassy and charismatic. It was as different writers left their stamp on this character that Deadpool became the more nuanced anti-hero that we know him to be today. And that's not to discredit Rob Liefeld, by the way, as a lot of time's greatest comic book characters are ones that have become as great as they are through the intervention of different writers and influences. As for the Just Feet gag, well, there's an ongoing running joke that Rob Liefeld can't draw feet. Now, debatably, you could say that Rob Liefeld can't draw much of anything. He has a bit of a reputation as being one of the worst artists in Marvel Comics history. If you've heard of Rob Liefeld before, you've probably heard of him for this fridge bod Captain America right here. I think it has its charm. But yeah, for all those reasons, yeah, that little sight gag in the background got quite a giggle out of me. Number 5, Wolverine's New Suit, and what becomes of it. So yes, for the first time in cinematic history, Wolverine is donning the yellow and blue suit. which is something I and a lot of Wolverine fans have been looking forward to for decades. We were teased with it in a deleted post-credits from The Wolverine, but obviously it never materialized. He did wear a yellow and black spandex suit in X-Men Days of Future Past, but he was wearing it underneath a lot of armor that completely disguised all of it. And I won't lie, considering how timid they were about bringing the X-Men costumes to life in the original trilogy, I will say the black leather suits weren't a terrible representation. You still had yellow accents on it, you still had the general shapes of the Wolverine suit pattern. More of an homage to the classic suits, really, than anything else. But then we got that reveal photo and the set photos of Wolverine in his complete yellow and blue costume. And I was incredibly excited. They had taken some artistic liberties, and probably with very good reason. Wolverine's yellow suit now had sleeves, and it's believed that the reason for this is because Hugh Jackman is very unfortunately prone to skin cancer. So ideally, you want to keep the guy from getting sunburn. And for that reason, I would happily accept him keeping the sleeves for the entirety of the film. And again, sleeves or no sleeves, this is a very faithful depiction of the Wolverine suit. However, as we see in this trailer, he does ditch the sleeves, getting that iconic Wolverine sleeveless look. And I think it goes hard as hell. I have noticed that some people are quite disappointed that he didn't at least keep the shoulder pads though, and I can understand why. Because if they'd just kept the shoulder pads on there, you would have a flawless classic Wolverine look. This would be an exact translation, and because they ditched those, we're just one tiny little step away from getting it perfect, you know? And I am hearing a lot of pushback as well from people saying people should just be grateful that they finally did the yellow suit, we've waited all this time for it, and I want to shoot that down really quickly. The whole just be grateful thing, we're giving them money. They're the business. We're giving them money for this. There is no just be grateful here. When you're watching a film, you're paying for the experience. So even if it is a quote-unquote minute detail, you are completely at your liberty to say how you feel about it. That's not to say that he never will have the shoulder pads without the sleeves, but if they're not doing that, that's a missed opportunity to get that perfect Wolverine look. Does it ruin the movie? No, but like, if you want to accuse people of being annoying for quote-unquote nitpicking, I'm just going to say this, bitching at him is even more annoying. And it's like, oh, we waited decades for this, just be grateful. No, some people waited decades for this, and they just want to see them get it right. To me, they have got it right. I think it's fine. I'm just saying, like, people pushing back against people that are just, you know, saying it's a missed opportunity, like, stop it. Have some fucking dignity. It would be a bit of a missed opportunity if we didn't get to see this suit without the sleeves, with the shoulder pads, and the mask on. Because if we are even just one shot of that, we would have a shot of the perfect Wolverine as we always dreamt it would be. And it's just like, why not, you know? Why would you not take that opportunity? But again, it's not something that's going to ruin the film for me if they don't do it. It would just be a bit of a missed opportunity. Speaking of the helmet, by the way, it doesn't appear at all in this trailer. He does have it. There will be a point in this film where he wears the helmet, because we've seen it on the merchandise, we've seen it on the theater cups, and we've seen it in publicity. It's not in this trailer though, and I'm not holding my breath that it's going to be in the film much at all. Given that in the only images where we've seen the mask, he's had the sleeves on, I'm guessing he'll have it early in the film. In fact, I think he's going to have it at the very beginning, and will then ditch it immediately. And for a while I was thinking, well, why would they put it on the marketing and stuff if it's barely in the film? But I just want to point your focus over to the Green Goblin in Spider-Man No Way Home. He wore the classic Green Goblin costume, he wore that mask for less than 1 minute in the film. But look at the merchandise. If they were willing to do that there, I'm gonna bet they're doing it here. I will be very pleasantly surprised if we get any more than a minute of Hugh Jackman wearing the Wolverine mask, but I am just glad that we do get to see it at least once, you know? And maybe when we get a proper MCU Wolverine, maybe he will get the mask and wear it for a longer period. I'm honestly surprised I didn't save the yellow suit for that. So yeah, just to kind of put my own opinion out there, I think the suit's fantastic. I am super excited to be getting a comic-accurate Wolverine suit after all these years. At the same time, I can understand why some might be disappointed that we never get to see it completely perfected, you know? Especially when all those individual elements do exist. But I mean, hey, the film's not out yet. They're clearly saving some stuff for the film. Number 6. So, I've seen a lot of people speculating that this fight in the forest in the snow is the fight from Avengers Age of Ultron. And in that fight, the Avengers are fighting against Chitauri Hydra soldiers. However, these aren't that. Upon closer observation, that's not the same costumes. These are the TVA, so I don't think this is going to be an Age of Ultron callback. which would make sense because then you would need like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans to return, unless you were to rely solely on existing footage from that film. I think we just have a scene here that happens to take place in a snowy forest, and lots of those can exist. Number 7, Cassandra Nova appears to be the big bad for this one. There were rumors that it would be like a Fox Universe Scarlet Witch, which I think would have been really cool, but we're getting Cassandra Nova, who is a villain we haven't seen adapted before, so it's good to see. Now, when it comes to comic books, X-Men isn't really in my area of expertise. I do like the X-Men, but I don't know much about the X-Men. But I have done a little research on Cassandra Nova, and she is the sister of Professor Charles Xavier, who has inherited a great deal of his powers, but she, unlike Charles, is evil. She has the power of telepathy just like Professor Charles Xavier, and we even see her using that against Wolverine at one point in this trailer, which looks really, really cool. But one detail I love is obviously we see the Giant Man helmet, and you do get a very brief glimpse of a skull underneath the helmet, so this is like a dead Giant Man, which makes me wonder, what are we gonna see happen in the MCU in this movie? But something I love about this is that Professor X famously gets into people's heads, and we've got Cassandra Nova setting up camp in the deceased head of Giant Man. That is such a cool kind of play on that metaphor. I adore that piece of imagery. Great stuff. I don't know if Cassandra Nova is going to be the main villain of this film. Maybe they're keeping some stuff under wraps still, but either way, she's a good choice. Number 8, we're seeing some Mad Max-style action here. We've got giant vehicles in the desert, big chases, a hot rod, which is going to be great. We've never seen Marvel do anything like that before, so that's going to be really cool. Number 9, Dogpool. So we did get some merchandise artwork recently that displays different Deadpool variants that could feature in this film. We've got Headpool, we've got Kidpool, we've got Dogpool, and we've got Babypool. So yeah, we're going to be getting Deadpool variants in this movie. Dogpool is the only one to show up in this trailer here, and set photos have even shown other Deadpool variants, but I'm not going to show those because that would be spoilery. For now though, yeah, these are the Deadpool variants that will be in the film, and Dogpool is now confirmed by this trailer. And number 10, the final point, Doctor Strange. So one of the last shots of this trailer is Deadpool and Wolverine jumping into what is definitely a Doctor Strange portal. Whether or not it's actually Doctor Strange that cast the portal, it could be Wong, and it wouldn't actually surprise me if it were Wong, given that Benedict Cumberbatch has not been confirmed for this movie, and Marvel Studios have been on a bit of a Wong high recently. And I can imagine Deadpool playing off of Wong quite well. But the fact that this very visually distinct portal is here does imply that we will see one of the MCU wizards in this film. I think there's probably a lot of legacy MCU stuff that they are keeping hidden, as the synopsis did say that they would be kind of navigating events of the MCU. So who knows what they're jumping into here? It's kept as kind of like a white light behind that portal. So that's obviously a mystery for us to find out when we see the film. I'm thinking big revelations. Alright, tell you what, I'll give you a bonus one. One little gag that's going to change everything and blow your mind. It's here, right? Get ready. Deadpool. wait for it. Deadpool and Wolverine, what do you guys think? Comment below, discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits of videos just like this one. A special shout out goes to the patrons in the $5 and above tiers. We have RT0, Wilma, Cal-X, Hypes, Glad Goku, Dare Denny, SSS06, Kale Bennett, Ken K, Dazzle Fizzle, Hypermecha SP, Cirrus the Skeptic, Biotin, oh no, I've used up all the helium, what am I meant to do now? And Vera Wild. Thank you folks so much for your generosity, and to those of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Now get out of here.